Let's get the obvious objection out of the way first. Atlanta is Delta's biggest hub, 108 million passengers in 2024, the busiest airport on Earth. Salt Lake City handled 28 million. It's Delta's fourth busiest hub, behind Atlanta, Detroit, and Minneapolis. So why are we calling Salt Lake City the crown jewel? Because biggest and most valuable are not the same thing. In 2024, Salt Lake City was the #1 airport in the United States for on-time departures, fourth in the entire world. Delta operates roughly 70% of every flight there, a near monopoly no competitor has even tried to challenge. The airport just finished a $5.1 billion rebuild, the first all-new hub airport built in America this century, and it clawed its way back past its pre-pandemic record faster than Atlanta did. This is the hub Delta quietly built into the most efficient, most uncontested, most modern operation in its entire network. Not the biggest, the best run, and almost nobody is talking about it.
If you find these deep dives into how airlines really think worth your time, hit subscribe. We break down the strategy behind America's airports every week.
Here's why this matters. Every other Delta hub has a problem. Atlanta is at capacity. New York is a knife fight with American and United. Detroit and Minneapolis sit close enough to compete for the same Midwest traffic. Seattle and LA are battlegrounds with Alaska and American. Salt Lake City has no competition. None. The nearest comparable hub is United's Denver, 500 miles away. No other airline runs a hub anywhere near it. It is the textbook definition of a fortress hub, and it sits at the exact geographic crossroads Delta needs to funnel the entire Mountain West onto its network. A modern terminal, the best operational performance in the country, a booming local economy, and zero competitors. That's not the biggest hub, that's the safest one. And in the airline business, safe is worth more than big.
Salt Lake City wasn't always Delta's. The hub was built by Western Airlines, which started developing Salt Lake City as a connecting point in 1982. When Delta merged with Western in 1987, it inherited a ready-made Mountain West hub and a geographic position that turned out to be one of the most valuable in American aviation. But the relationship wasn't always guaranteed. When Delta merged with Northwest Airlines in 2008, it suddenly had two more Midwest hubs, Detroit and Minneapolis. And for a few years, Salt Lake City sat nervously. There was real speculation Delta might shift its Western operation to Phoenix. Delta CEO Ed Bastian later admitted there was lingering local paranoia about whether Salt Lake City would survive the consolidation. Then Delta made its choice. It cut Memphis, it gutted Cincinnati. But Salt Lake City? Delta doubled down. It signed a lease keeping its hub there through at least 2044. It backed a $5.1 billion terminal, and it started pouring in money that tells you exactly how it ranks this airport. The hub that almost got cut became the hub Delta bet the West on. Here's the single strongest piece of evidence. In 2024, the aviation analytics firm Cirium ranked Salt Lake City the #1 airport in the United States for on-time performance. 83.8% of flights departed on time. Globally, it ranked fourth, behind only Riyadh, Lima, and Mexico City. It had the fewest cancellations of any major U.S. airport. Let that sink in. Not Atlanta, not Minneapolis, not Detroit. Salt Lake City ran the most reliable major operation in the country. In 2025, it slipped slightly to 7th in the world, but it stayed the top-ranked large airport on the U.S. mainland. Why does Salt Lake City run so clean? 3 reasons. First, the infrastructure is brand new, no crumbling 1960s bottlenecks. Second, Delta controls 70% of the airport, so it can manage its own connecting banks without fighting other airlines for gates and runway slots. Third, geography. Salt Lake City sits away from the congested coastal airspace that turns New York and the Northeast into a daily delay machine. And the weather story is the opposite of what you'd expect. A city ringed by mountains, buried in snow every winter, and it still posts the best on-time numbers in America, thanks to an award-winning snow and ice removal operation. For an airline, this is everything. On-time performance is the metric that drives customer loyalty, crew costs, and connection reliability. Delta itself was the most on-time airline in North America for 5 straight years, its most reliable airline running through its most reliable hub. That's not a coincidence, that's a strategy. But operational excellence is only half the reason Salt Lake City is pulling ahead. The other half cost $5.1 billion, and Delta opened it at the worst possible moment in aviation history. The old Salt Lake City Airport was built around 1960 for about 10 million passengers a year. By the 1990s, it was handling more than 20 million. It was overwhelmed, outdated, and impossible to expand. So in 2014, Salt Lake City broke ground on something no American city had attempted in the 21st century, a completely new hub airport built from scratch. A 909,000 square foot central terminal, 2 linear concourses, 94 gates when fully complete, LEED Gold certified, built on a former lake bed that required stone columns driven deep into the ground just to stabilize it against earthquakes. And here's the part that matters. It was funded without a single dollar of local taxpayer money. The airport operates as an enterprise fund, paid for by airline fees, passenger charges, and bonds. The people of Salt Lake City didn't pay for it, the travelers did. Phase 1 opened September 15, 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, when air travel had collapsed by 90%. Brutal timing, but it meant that when travel roared back, Salt Lake City had brand new capacity ready while every other hub was still choking on old infrastructure. There was one problem: the walk. The new terminal is long, really long. The 2 concourses were originally connected by a tunnel that took over 13 minutes to walk. Passengers complained loudly. So in October 2024, the airport opened the River Tunnel, a 1,175-foot underground passage with blue light installations that cut the walk to under 6 minutes. It's still a long airport, that's the honest trade-off for building something this big. But it's a brand new long airport, and every competitor is still operating out of concrete from the Nixon administration.
A great hub needs a great local economy, and Utah is on fire. In 2024, Utah's GDP grew 4.5%, the fastest in the entire nation, compared to 2.8% nationally. The state's economy crossed $300 billion for the first time. The University of Utah's economists pointed straight at its location, the crossroads of the West. The tech sector, known as Silicon Slopes, now makes up roughly 10% of the state's economy. Adobe, Oracle, and a wave of major employers have built out Utah operations. Utah has repeatedly been ranked the #1 best state in America. This is what Delta is really buying: a fortress hub in the fastest-growing state economy in the country, full of exactly the kind of high-income business travelers who buy premium tickets. And the route map proves Delta sees it. Salt Lake City now flies non-stop to nearly 100 destinations, 5 long-haul international routes: Amsterdam, London Heathrow, and Paris. In June 2025, Delta launched Salt Lake City's first non-stop to Asia since 2011, a route to Seoul on the Airbus A350, the longest flight in the airport's history at nearly 5,900 miles. And in late 2025, the first ever non-stop to South America, serving Lima, Peru. That is not how you treat a backup hub. That is how you treat a crown jewel. Now, let's be honest about what Salt Lake City is not, because the comments section will be. It is not Delta's biggest hub. Atlanta moved 8.18 million passengers in 2024. Salt Lake City moved 28 million. It is Delta's 4th busiest hub. That's not close. It is not the highest market share. Delta controls about 80% of Atlanta, higher than its 70% at Salt Lake City. It is not #1 in customer satisfaction. In J.D. Power's 2025 Mega Airport Survey, that title went to Minneapolis, another Delta hub, not Salt Lake City. Credit where it's due. And 2025 was not another record year.
After hitting an all-time high of 28.36 million passengers in 2024, Salt Lake City actually dipped slightly to 28.16 million in 2025. So no, Salt Lake City is not the biggest, the most dominant, or the most beloved hub Delta owns. What it is the best run, the most modern, the most uncontested, and the one that recovered past its pre-pandemic peak faster than Atlanta did. The crown jewel of a network isn't always the biggest stone. Sometimes it's the one with no flaws. And here's what almost nobody noticed. Once Delta committed, everything started compounding. Look at where Delta is putting its money. In late 2024, it opened a pilot training facility at Salt Lake City, its first full-motion simulator center anywhere outside Atlanta. Think about that. For decades, if you wanted to train as a Delta pilot, you went to Atlanta. Now there's a second home, and it's Salt Lake City. Then the lounges. In October 2025, Delta opened a new Sky Club in Concourse B at nearly 34,000 square feet, the second largest Delta Sky Club in the entire network, seating up to 600 people. American Express opened a Centurion Lounge in the same concourse the same month. You don't build your second biggest premium lounge in a hub you consider second tier. And Delta announced an $18 million cargo facility opening in 2027, built with cold chain capability for pharmaceuticals and perishables, turning Salt Lake City into a logistics node, not just a passenger hub. This is the part that makes the crown jewel argument click. Each investment makes the next one more logical. A new terminal justifies more routes justify a bigger lounge. A bigger operation justifies a training base. A training base means crews live there, which means the hub gets more reliable, which means more flights. It's a flywheel, and right now, Salt Lake City is the only Delta hub where every piece is being built new at the same time. Atlanta is maintaining, New York is fighting, Salt Lake City is compounding. That's what quietly becoming a crown jewel actually looks like. Not one big announcement, but 100 quiet decisions all pointing the same direction. Here's the full picture. Delta has hubs that are bigger. It has hubs in flashier cities. It has hubs with more international glamour, but it doesn't have another hub like Salt Lake City, a fortress with no competitor for 500 miles, the best on-time performance in the country, a brand new $5.1 billion terminal paid for without taxpayer money, sitting in the fastest growing state economy in America, locked in with Delta through 2044. While the aviation world argues about Atlanta's congestion and New York's airport wars, Delta has quietly been turning Salt Lake City into the cleanest, safest, most efficient bet in its entire network. It almost got cut after the Northwest merger. Instead, it became the hub Delta built the West around, not the biggest jewel in the crown, the one with no flaws.